I walked up to this monk and I said, "Monk, why is the world so cruel?" He said, "You see, the world is so cruel because we're unaware of our emotions within the moments. And if we take inventory of our emotions, then we have a choice." I would practice with this monk. He had me meditate on death. During a certain phase of my military career, we just came out of Basilan Island where we fought the Abu Sayyaf, right, in southern Philippines. And we went into mountain warfare training where we were training in the Himalayas. It was in this training, it was over a month of training with the Indian Commando Forces. Cliff assaults, free climbing with equipment, machine guns, in this rigorous environment, 18,500 feet, no oxygen up there. Training at that intensity, commandos. On the weekends, we would be exhausted, so, guys want to sleep. But for the samurai, I needed to go visit the Tibetan monks. So I grabbed one of my loyal commandos and he drove me to this Tibetan monk. And because he was a commando, the monks would let him in. They usually don't let Westerners in there. And the monk asked the commando, what does he seek? Wisdom. I walked up to this monk and I said, "Monk, why is the world so cruel?" He smiled, he came up, he grabbed my hand, he shook my hand, he pulled me out in the back. It was an open field, behind his temple. Took the stick, he drew it on the ground, he threw 2 sacks on. One was black stones and white was white stones. And for many years, he said he would sit there and he would look at this circle on the ground. And he has a bad thought. He would take a black pebble, throw it into the circle on the ground. For many years, he said. For many years, 4 years. He said it was all black. And now it's all white. I asked the monk what changed. Why? He said, "You see, the world is so cruel because we're unaware of our emotions within the moments. And if we take inventory of our emotions, then we have a choice. And the world is so cruel because people are unaware of their emotions, and we have more control of our emotions, would the world not be so cruel?" It's very Confucius, You wish the world be a better place. It begins with you. Then, the next weekend I came back and visited a monk, and we were sitting out in this mountain range. Huge, right? Himalayas, can you imagine? So beautiful. We're up in the border of Pakistan, China, India. So beautiful. Snow up at the peaks. And this monk I sat with this monk, and he reminded me how beautiful this morning was. How beautiful this day was. You say I didn't see it. I see it visually, but I wasn't there. I was trapped in pain. So I saw the ugly in everything. I wish this morning would hurry up and be over so I can go drink some coffee. Why is this monk sitting here for so long? My back's hurting. I looked at the negative things, but yeah, here he is, present, and I wasn't, right? So fast forward that, throughout the weekends, I would practice with this monk, and he taught me death. He had me meditate on death. That's Tibetan practice, to meditate on death every morning. The samurais in Shinto practice is to meditate on death. Bushido is to meditate on death. And what that means is, for during that time, I would practice like I should have died here, I should have died here, I should have died here, life is great. But now I practice it in a way where if this was your last day on this earth, if you're sitting there in the morning and you're embracing what is beautiful and you ask yourself in a moment of death, you say, "This is my last day on this earth." Will you not savor that morning? all the things that bother you in life would it just not go away? So the samurais, they keep death near, you know. So these 3 practices alone, I wrote them down because I reflected on my journey, right? So basically when I became Ronin, there was a certain process of rebirth where I shut down the world and I cocooned myself and I worked on myself. I shut down all my teammates, I shut down every external voice, and I heard only myself. The moment of rebirth. So how does one do it, right? Like, I could say to you, hey man, don't you want to live a life that's like happy? Don't you want to be grateful? And let's just say you go outside and say, I'm grateful for everything. You really think that sticks in? There's a practice. And that draws off a discipline. So what I'm saying is through your whole life, your narrative becomes your actual truth. Your parents saying to you, hey, Jordan, you make more money, right? You become this status, you're successful. That's not true, right? That's not true. That's your truth. And you injected your truth into me, and then because I want to please my parents, then that becomes my actual truth because then I lived it. Truth is not truth until you accept it. You must look at the world different. What is actual? You're actual. You're a human being. I'm a human being. Jordan talks a fucking lot, and he's fucking irritating to be around. That's your narrative. It's not truth. You know, I'm weak. I'm worthless. That's not true. So how do you change the narrative? You realize that that's a lie, right? You realize that's a lie in what is actual, right? So you tell yourself, nice one, lie, right? And then you go to what's actual. And then you inject a word, the power of a word, right? So let's just say in the morning, if I wake up and you and I walk out in the deck and I said, Jordan, it's a beautiful morning, man. Look at that beautiful sun. And then you look at it and you absorb it. I said beautiful. That's a word. Okay? Would not your morning be a lot better? So let's say you and I walk out into this deck and I say, you know, I fucking feel like shit today because I drank all night. And you're like, yeah, I feel like shit. Or you're stuck in a past, right? You're thinking about, I don't know, a relationship, or you're thinking about whatever, your parents, whatever. You come out in that deck and you say, man, what a shitty morning. You just put a word on it. It's not actual. It's only a day. It's your narrative. And that narrative can become true if you believe it. So that's when I changed my mind.
As many of you know, we are independent creators and filmmakers, but there is a massive attack on us right now. Traditional media over the last few years has started to slowly die. They are no longer the independent voice that you first thought they were. That's why we've created Mulligan Brothers Patreon. We've built something special for our most dedicated supporters, and I want to break it down for you real quick. The supporter tier gets you ad-free early access to both video and audio versions of Mulligan Brothers interviews 24 hours before it goes public. The executive tier gets you everything that a supporter tier gets, plus more. Exclusive interviews and behind the scenes content, walk and talks, daily routines, unreleased interviews, the stuff that you don't see anywhere else. And finally, the executive producer tier. Everything from the supporter tier and the executive tier, plus exclusive perks. Access to our treatment packages. Be the first to see which guests are coming up and get insight into the topics we'll be discussing before anyone else. And you'll even get an executive producer credit on every single documentary that we make. So if you've ever wanted to support the Mulligan Brothers mission of inspiring change so we can go around the world and get these stories that nobody else will, this is exactly how you do it. Go to patreon.com/Mulligan Brothers or click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. Join the community and help us inspire change.